That is totally exactly.
Before they ever...
In normal cases, you separate the spouses to take them into separate rooms to find out what's going on in a case. In a homicide investigation, totally full boat. Everything that you just said is supposed to happen. Now, with this case, money, influence, whatever you want to say, these people had, obviously Boulder, Colorado, they are very made of money. I mean, they had 2 estates and a third in Georgia that I wasn't really aware of. But I just cannot imagine being an investigator, and you have to go, and there's certain questions that have to be asked, and they are horrible questions, but as a parent, and these people should have understood that, and if they weren't guilty or something else going on with this case, they would have given any answer that the investigators would have asked. They would have gone through and said, no, I want to find out who did this. I had nothing to do with my daughter's death, and I have no problem being separated. There was other things going on, though, and obviously we're going to talk about motive here in a minute and why did these people
That was my next question. And Cyril, you and I talked, and I said you've been very passionate about this. You know your stuff. I have a lot of respect for you. What in the world, first of all, do you have a 5-year-old running around and these get-ups and these contests and what have you? I think it's a bit much at that age. And of course, then the ransom note, which is exactly what Mr. Ramsey's Christmas bonus was, $118,000. But first of all, I mean, she's a beautiful girl, but you don't parade people out at 5 in that kind of clothing.
She's dressed like a burlesque queen, really. I mean, absolutely incredible. There can be no, as far as I'm concerned, acceptable explanation for that. And now you made reference to this so-called ransom note.
Right.
This ransom note, which is so absurd, 2.5 pages. We represent a foreign faction, and so on and so forth. It's clear that a word or two of simplicity is deliberately misspelled, whereas a word like attaché, that's spelled correctly. And the amount of money requested, I always do this when I'm speaking about this case to an audience, and I'll point out to some guy, I'll say, yeah, you look like an accomplished kidnapper, great experience. How much do you usually get for a job? And then I'll go to somebody else, and I'll say, now, you're a novice, ma'am. How much? So the point I'm making is, $25,000, $50,000, $100,000. You got a millionaire, maybe $1 million or so on. $118,000.
Unbelievable.
And it happens to be exactly the amount of money that John Ramsey received as a bonus from his company for the year before, a fact that would have been known only to him and his wife and his accountant and maybe his tax lawyer. Who else would know that?
Agreed. And as I let Jeff back in here, I just want to let everybody know out there, I contacted the Ramsey attorney, Lynn Wood. I've received no call back. I've tried for almost a week to reach them. And so I have tried to get both sides of the story. I'm trying to be fair here. Lynn Wood, the Ramsey attorney there, and no return phone calls, and I've been trying for about the last week. Jeff, go ahead. You got a question for Cyril.
Going back into the ransom note here, I guess, obviously, is it true that Patsy Ramsey was an ambidextrous, meaning she could write with her left and right without a problem, that she actually bragged about that? Is that something that...
I've heard that. What I do know is this, what is a matter of official record that we can say without being unethical or unfair, is that the authorities have said that they have, and I'm just going with what they have said, they have ruled out John Ramsey as the writer. They never ruled out Patsy Ramsey as the writer of the note. And something else about the note. The note was written with paper and pen found in the Ramsey home. So this kidnapper, or maybe there were 2 people, who knows? Depends on the Ramsey people, Ramsey storytellers, that this individual, let's make him one person, he comes there, and not only does he know where JonBenet, where her bedroom is, and where he's able to get her without disturbing her or her brother, he knows about a separate stairwell that leads to the basement. he knows about the room that the cops don't even go into. It is so obscure that the cops don't even see it, evidently. And it's until John Ramsey goes back, as I've said, 7 hours later. But this outside intruder, who, by the way, entered the house in a way that has never been identified, and who leaves the house in a way that has never been identified. He goes down there, and after he has had his perverse way with the little girl, he decides, you know what? I'm going to make this a profitable evening as well as an enjoyable one. I'm going to stage a kidnapping here. Oh, darn it. I forgot to bring pen and paper. Oh, not to worry. These are intelligent, educated people. Oh, fine. So he goes in total darkness. In the middle of the night, he finds paper. He finds a pen. He starts, wait, you ready for this? He starts off. He doesn't like his opening gambit. He knows that this is going to be a big-time case. So he crumples the first piece of paper and throws it to the floor. And then he starts and writes the note. Now, he's not worried. He's in no hurry, okay? And he writes the note, and he leaves it there on the stairwell where it will be seen. And then he leaves the house. Now, what did he forget to do? What did he forget to do? He forgot to take the 45-pound package, JonBenet Ramsey. This guy who is so cool, so cunning, so bold, incredible chutzpah to come into that house, to do all of the things that we have talked about, and to write this note, and then to leave the house without the body. Now, is that absolutely unbelievable?
It is bizarre. Doesn't that, it has to point from within, somebody staying in that house. Now, Patsy Ramsey has since passed away. Now, in the Denver Post, Mike McPhee, who was going to be with us, but due to time restraints couldn't be here tonight, he wrote a column many years ago about this, and it really pointed at Mrs. Ramsey being the person who actually committed this murder. The housekeeper, Miss Hoffman Pugh, had given him some evidence, and he wrote about this very, very eloquently in the Denver Post, that she indeed was the killer here. Now, you've wrote about this, your thoughts about that, and if it's the case where it is somebody from within the home or somebody in that family. Motive, Dr. Weck, is it because you got to cover up some kind of scene that's going on there that you just can't have out?
Well, look, we've already said, and it's clear, and there's no dispute about this, there were two adults. Burke, the 9-year-old brother, has been officially cleared, so we have to be careful.
Yep.
And as far as I'm concerned, then, the authorities say that Burke has been cleared, and that's okay with me. One point, however, with Burke. The parents told the police that the boy, the then 9-year-old boy, Burke, the brother, had been sleeping and slept through all of this thing. Well, guess what? Sometime years later, there came to be a recorded phone call that presumably had been erased, and it's John Ramsey, the father, his voice, and then you hear him saying to Burke something like that, go back to your room, none of your business, something like that. So we have, and this has been, his voice has been identified by a top linguistic expert. So we have that to contend with. Now, let's set aside Burke as a perpetrator, and we have mother and we have father, and nobody has ever been identified. Nobody. Although the Ramseys, they said there was a guy who lived down the street. They called him Santa Claus. Nice little guy. They tried to dump on him. There was a guy that worked for the company. They tried to dump on him. They've reached out without any remorse or hesitation, with reckless abandon, whereas Attorney Lynn Wood, anytime somebody speaks, you guys may be hearing from him, as I have heard from him, they immediately threaten defamation lawsuits and so on. Oh, yeah, this is a game they've been playing now for many years. Ask Mike McPhee about that.